Hello, and I'm so excited to be back and to be talking today about a very interesting hot topic, how to create motivation. Motivation is that finicky thing. It's that friend that always flakes out last minute, right? It ebbs and flows, it comes and goes, not just for you, but for me and for everyone out there. So how do we create more of it? How do we get more motivation? And the first thing that I want to address is the need for it as a whole. So I do want to just start by reframing and saying that we don't need motivation to reach our goals. A lot of us, I talk to a lot of women, and basically a lot of what I hear is that I'm not motivated, I'm struggling with motivation to get started, to keep going, whatever it is. But I want to encourage you that you don't need it. It's great when it's there and we can create more of it. I will encourage you that and I will teach you that today, but we don't need it to get started or to keep going. And there will be times where it's absent that we need to rely on dedication, discipline, instead of motivation. And this is a practice. It's not something that anyone is good at when we start. And I promise you, if you're listening to this, you probably maybe you don't have a ton of dedication and discipline yet. That's because you haven't built the skill of it. So think of it like a knife you have to sharpen. It has to get better. But the better it gets, the more you're actually going to create more motivation as a result. So just want to start with that, and I'm going to give you some practical ways to not only get around motivation, but create more of it with some steps here. So the most important thing to understand in this conversation around motivation is that it is not the first step in the cycle of taking action to your goals. What does that mean? We often think that motivation leads us to taking actions, which then gives us a reward. And then we believe that, oh, I can do this, I'm capable. And then we go ahead and we have more motivation and we move forward. When in reality, the cycle does not start there. So if you're picturing a circle and you're picturing the steps in order, step number 1 is not motivation, it is action. Action is the first step. The cycle goes in the same order. So action first leads us to what? A result. We say, oh, I felt good from that workout, or I feel good after eating that meal, or I saw some progress on the scale. And that leads us to the belief that, hey, maybe we can do it. And if you want to dive deeper into the belief side of things, watch the training, listen to the training on self-sabotage. That is a really, really good one and goes very deep. But we get a little bit of belief, right? I can do this. What does the belief create? The belief creates a feeling, an emotion of motivation. And that motivation fuels what? The next action. So the cycle goes in the order: action, result, belief, motivation. And that order is the same, but we often think that it starts one step back with the motivation, and it does not. Now, the good thing is that we do not need to take a massive action in order to kick this cycle off. And the cycle perpetuates itself in both directions, right? You're probably very familiar with the fact that it perpetuates itself in the negative direction of, I didn't do the thing, I didn't have the motivation, I didn't take the action, I reinforced the fact that I don't think I can do this, I didn't see any progress, and here we are with no motivation again, right? But we can really turn this around with the smallest of actions. So the smallest of actions that we can take, first and foremost, can be things like, instead of thinking, oh, I need to go get a whole workout in order to be motivated, what if we just put our gym clothes on? What if we just committed to that? One that I've loved using with one of my clients in the past is asking her, she has a bike in her garage and she struggles to go out there and get some cardio in. But I ask her to just, hey, let's just commit to sitting on the bike. Like, just go out there, just sit on the seat, whatever happens, happens. And the key here is that you have to release the expectation of a specific outcome, because if you're going to be ashamed and disappointed in yourself if you don't go all the way through with that thing, and we think in kind of that all or nothing mentality, then we're going to perpetuate a negative cycle of its own. But if we just go into it saying, I'm going to commit to the smallest possible action, putting on the gym clothes, putting on the shoes, sitting on the bike, eating one piece of fruit, eating one piece of a vegetable, taking a sip of water, that can really ignite that cycle of believing and seeing the results, feeling the benefits, and being more motivated to take the next action. So I really want you to just sit on that, draw the cycle out, see it, feel it, and practice it with tiny, tiny actions. And that will add up and snowball really quickly. And then the second thing that I want you to take away from this motivation talk is what motivation actually is. It is an emotion, an energy state. It's a feeling in our body, right? It's feeling energized, feeling positive, feeling like we want to go do something. And this is a hormonal state, a physiological state, a state where certain neurotransmitters are more active in our brain than others, a reward-driven state. So I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty brain science of it all, but what I will say is that if it's a state, we have to ask ourselves when we're not motivated, what state are we in? I always like to use the example of, okay, if I'm in yoga pants and a sweatshirt and I have no makeup on and I just ate a meal that made me feel like poo, and I'm sitting on the couch in front of the TV and also scrolling on my phone, and I'm telling myself I'm not motivated, should I really be surprised by that considering the circumstances that I'm in and the circumstances that I'm putting myself in? Probably not. And so something you can do to kind of hack it is you don't need to go do the thing like the workout right away, but something you could do is just shift your state. So go from laying on the couch watching TV and feeling really lazy to putting on your favorite dance music and just getting up and kind of like jamming around the house, dancing a little bit, singing along. That alone can shift what? Your physiological state and get you into maybe a physiological state where you're more apt to take action on going to get the workout in or going to do the thing, right? Feeling more motivated because you shifted your physiological state. So examples of things you could do to bring up your physiological energy and your state could be, like I said, dancing, singing, jumping up and down, doing some jumping jacks in place, screaming into a pillow is a good one, listening to upbeat beats, music, tones, listening to a motivational speaker, anything like that can really get you in a more energized state physiologically that then you can carry on actions from there. And I mean, spoiler alert, that is taking an action that perpetuates that cycle. It's a part of it, but it's just another way to look at it, right? It's about changing your physiological state rather than having to think of what is the action that I have to take, right? Those are a couple of examples that are fun, that are upbeat, that'll kind of get you smiling and going. And that can be something that gets you more motivated. Or phoning a friend even, like talking to someone who would support you could be huge as well. So that is pretty much the long and short of how to create motivation and how to reframe your mindset around it. I hope that you found this helpful. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you back next week, and I appreciate your attention as I know it's the most valuable resource.